not pick it up at the door yesterday, not have one. Up here near the plant, there's some extra copies. It's on this side of the table. We're going to talk about the purple sheet at the end of class. It's not due till the next homework check. Yes. Everybody good? It says review number 1. It's got a bunch of, like a big table on it of stuff. I just want to point out the usefulness of this. Okay, this column tells you what the standard is called on the quiz. This column tells you where to find examples. So if you don't get something in this section, there are more practice problems on worksheet 1 and 3. Okay? This last column is for you if you're really into color coding stuff. It's kind of fun to say, I'm a green on this section, I know this. I'm a yellow on this section, I need to go over it again tonight. I'm a red, I need to go see Miss Offbauer, I don't get it. Does that make sense, what that's for? All right. So here's today's quiz is going to have all these questions on it. Tomorrow's quiz, sorry. How do you find the slope? What's the slope formula? They're not necessarily in this order on the quiz, but y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or you could write change in y over change in x. Okay, so how if we find the slope, we have xy, xy. We'd have, if you want me to do it in that order, negative 8 minus 5 over negative 4 minus 3. The order is not important as long as you do the same order for the x's and the y's. So I got negative 13 over negative 7, or 13 sevenths. Did someone else get that, or did I make a silly mistake? Got that? Okay. Midpoint. Equation, anybody? I turned that stupid ringer off. Yes, good job. So you could write average the x's, average the y's. I would prefer you wrote the formula. And it is an ordered pair. Somehow I have students who will average them and then write one on top of the other. It should be an ordered pair, right guys? So real quick, this one would be what? 3 and negative 4, 5 and negative 8. So we'd have negative 1/2. Did I get that right? And negative 3/2. If you type that on the calculator, what do you have to be careful of? Can I type 3 divided by, or 3 plus negative 4 divided by 2? It would divide the negative 4 and get negative 2 and add it to the 3, and you just get negative 1, and it's supposed to be negative 1/2. So just be careful, order of operations. All right, this is the one everybody struggles with because it's long and messy. How do you do this one? Remember, it's really based on this. Distance, square root of, and again, it doesn't matter, you can do the y's first and then the x's. You could also write change in x squared plus change in y squared. As long as you know change in means subtract. All right. So somebody tell me what order you want me to do those points up there. I'm still using those same 2 points. Okay, so we're doing y's first and then x's. Because we're squaring and adding, it doesn't matter at all. You can't hardly mess the order up. The only thing you can do is an x with a y in the same parenthesis, and then you'll get it wrong. So I think it's 13 squared plus 7 squared. Anybody getting that? 169 plus 49. There is no shortcut. It's not 20 because you can't get rid of the squareds. Thank you. Whoops. 18 you said. Square root of 218. I think I made it so it doesn't simplify tomorrow. Does 4 go into this? No? 2 goes in how many times? 109, right? And I don't think that's going to go further. So no, I don't think this simplifies even though it's even. And you can just leave it. I'm not asking for a decimal approximation even. All right, second part of the coordinate geometry standard is graph a line in any form. Neither of these are looking pretty, right? This first one, you could get the y by itself, or you could use the intercept method where you plug in 0 in for the x and a 0 in for the y. If you put a 0 in for x, it'll say 2 times 0, which is 0, and then negative 5y equals 10, which would make y negative 2. If you put the 0 in for the y, it would just say 2x equals 10, so you'd have 5, 0. 0, negative 2, 5, 0. Here's our line. Oh, I get an A for the day. That was a nice line there. All right. Most of you wouldn't have done it that way? Yes, no, maybe? If you subtracted the x over to the other side and divided everything by negative 5, it's supposed to be a 5, you'd have y equals 2/5 x minus 2 down to negative 2 up 2 and over 5. Same line? All right, what about this heebie-jeebie mess over here? It's a hot mess, right? Because it has something on the y. What do you want to do first? What did you say? You could. When you did x equals 0, you'd have to do reciprocal, but you could, absolutely. If I multiplied all the way through by 3, like someone suggested, I'd have this, okay? Then I could do either method. If I got the y by itself, oops, plus 18. Divide everything by 2, I'd get 3/2 x plus 9. Does that make sense, guys, that eventually we're going to have a reciprocal of this in the problem, probably? So it's up here at 9, which I don't have room for, up 3 and over 2, or down 3 and back 2, down 3 and back 2. If I want to know where it's going to cross the x, I'd put in a 0 here, and it should be at negative 6. Long as it's accurate, whatever you do works for me. Everybody okay? Then there's one more section on the coordinate geometry, one more question on the coordinate geometry section. It says explain the relationship between these given these ordered pairs. So from A to B and C to D, it's going to ask, are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? And it does say explain, okay? So what do we need to do? Slope real fast. Remember x, y, x, y, x, y, x, y. And make sure you do the y's on the top. So I'm going to go kind of fast. Somebody get that? What's that? Parallel, perpendicular, neither? Neither. They are not reciprocals. So, or opposites. So it's not perpendicular, and they're not equal, so it's not parallel. You don't have to have a real fancy explanation. It's fine. Give me example, Rook. I think I messed up when I wrote the question. I don't think I meant for it to be that obvious that they're neither. But if we had gotten this, what would have made them parallel? Okay. If the first one had been this, what would have made them perpendicular? What would this have been? Okay, just so we're clear for a little extra practice. All right, I feel a little bit bad because I don't think we did one just like this on the homework, but there's one like this on the quiz. My biggest concern is that somebody doesn't do this. I call this killing kittens because I have a great meme about this, but if you cross off that 2 with this 4 and reduce it to 2, you're totally going to get a wrong answer. Okay? I have this, I don't have it, it's up here. It says every time you do this, you kill a kitten. But it's because you can't reduce things. You can't factor a 2 out of here, so you can't reduce. If everything was divisible by 2 in this, then we could. All right. I maybe would just put this over 1 and cross multiply? Would that feel okay to most of you? Otherwise, we could multiply both sides by a 4. Whoops, not with an eraser. If I multiplied this side by a 4 and this side by a 4, you're going to get the same thing as if you cross multiply, because this is going to cancel the 4. And over here we get 36c minus 12. Did someone do it by cross multiplying and get that? All right, if I take 2c away and add 12 over here, I'm not showing all my steps very well. Anybody else get a lovely 23 34ths? You know what? I have to tell you this. I cannot tell you how many people will get a 4 on this section because they'll get to this point and they'll write down C equals 34 over 23 because most of our answers have been improper. Be real careful at the end that you don't skip a step and you go, okay, I need to get the C by itself, so I'm dividing by this one. Everybody good? Nobody's going to make a silly mistake and write it upside down. Any questions on that one? Okay, the other one in this section that's painful is one like this. What's the big deal? 2 things. 1, do what first? Distribute. And then second, we're going to get rid of all the fractions by multiplying through by the least common denominator. Good job. Okay, so 1 times 2 is 2, 7 times 3 is 21. That one has an x. Don't lose the x. And then back here, this was a 4 over 1, so it's just going to be 4 sevenths. 1 times 4, 7 times 1. Then we're done distributing. Okay, now somebody's going to change these to decimals and try to do this question on the quiz. And they're going to get it wrong because you need an exact fractional answer at the end. There's a reason I'm teaching you to multiply through by the common denominator because we're going to need this all year long. Common denominator for this one's pretty easy. It's what? 21. Good job. So 21 times 2 divided by 21 would be 2x. 21 times 4 divided by 7, 12. Am I getting that right? Same thing here, but this one has an x. And then 21 times 19 divided by 3. Yep, I don't know. 1. Thank you. And that was negative. All right, so if I add 133 over here and subtract 2x over here, I'm skipping a lot of steps that you're welcome to show on your paper. Now, you could definitely do a math enter. 5 goes into both of those. What is it? Any questions? We good there? All right, you have to be able to state all 3 forms. Who can tell me slope-intercept real fast? Who can tell me standard form? Good job. And point slope. Okay. Got to know all three of those tomorrow. Are we good? All right, so how would we do this? We need a line parallel to this line through this point. We need our answer to be in slope-intercept form. We need what out of this equation? Just the slope, and then we're done. We don't need anything else. We just need the slope to be 1/2. Do we need to flip it over or anything? Okay. And then we have -6/8 as our x and our y value. So maybe what? Point slope. So y minus 8 is the y value equals 1/2 x minus 6, but minus a -6, sorry, so it'll be plus positive. Okay, are we done? We have to get it in y equals form, so we have to do our distributing and adding the 8 over there. How do we check this at the end? Does it have the right slope? Yeah. And then does -6/8 work? If I put a, so I'd have half of -6 is -3 plus 11. Is that 8? This is true, right? It checks at the end, okay? I plugged this point back in at the end to check it. That's all. You don't have to do a check. I'm just showing you how. We good? All right. What about perpendicular? Yep, we need to take this slope. We don't need the rest of this. But the perpendicular slope to that will flip over and be -1/4. And then we have the point 110 as an x and a y. Now, I'm going to start with like we did on the last one, y minus 10 equals -1/4 x minus 1. But it says standard form. You don't have to do 2 standard forms on the quiz tomorrow. I think you only have to do 1. But I put it on here twice for extra practice. Okay, if I distribute, now what? If it's got to be standard form, this would be a real easy point to do what? Get rid of the fractions? Can we get rid of them right now? How would we get rid of the fractions? Because that silly standard form can't have fractions. Multiply through by 4. Tell me what I get.
4y.
Good job. So I need to move the x over here with the y. So when I add it over there, it's going to be 1x, or just x is great, plus 4y equals, if I add the 40 back over, I get 41. Is anybody getting that? X plus 4y equals 41. Let's plug 110 in our heads just to make sure it works. Is 1 plus 4 times 10 41? Seems good. Questions? How do we start when they give us 2 points? Perfect. Difference in the y's on the top, x's on the bottom. X, y, x, y. So I have 2 over -7. That's a lovely slope. Okay, now what? You want to do point slope? Should we pick 1, 2 because there's no negatives? Yeah. Y minus 2 equals 2 over -7 times x minus 1. Yes, yep. And that's why I say in a particular form at the end, because if you pick the other one, you'll still get the exact same answer in standard form at the end. Y minus 2, if I distribute -2/7 over here, I have a lovely mess like that. Standard form means I can't have fractions. You want to get rid of them now or later? Okay, if I get rid of them now, multiply by what? So I get 7y minus 14 equals, and over here the 7's divide out, so I get negative 2x plus 2. Final answer, anybody? Standard form, add the 2x over here. Good job. Add the 14 back over this way to the 2. Now we could put it in a 1 and a 2. If we plugged it in here, we'd have 2 plus 14 is 16. That seems to work. If we put a negative 6 and a 4 in that spot, we'd have negative 12 plus 28. Is that also 16? So both points work, okay? Both points have to work in there for that to be the right answer. I'm just showing you how to check them. Yeah. Yes, good question. Yep, the x, if you had moved the x over to that side and it had been negative, you would have had to change all the signs. Great, great review. Okay. Icky word problem. No, it's not. It's really pretty easy. Monthly fee and a certain amount of money per minute for a game. Customer plays 125 minutes. The monthly cost will be $16. Plays 90 minutes. It's $13.90. Says, write it down here. I'm skipping the first one for a minute. Find an equation where cost of the game as a function of x, the minutes played. So it's telling you right there clearly that x should be minutes and the cost should be the y value. Everybody good? Nobody's going to get those backwards because it does say in the problem somewhere what to use. This is a decimal. I don't know what's doing floating in midair there. Okay, how do we find the cost per minute? This is the change in dollars, right? Over the change in minutes would give us the dollars per minute, cost per minute. All right, I don't know what that is. Is that 210, guys, on the top? 2.1 and 35, I don't know, 5 cents? What is it? Thank you. Exactly? Okay. So it's 6 cents per minute. There is already a dollar here, but if I labeled the whole thing, I suppose as long as you write 0.06, I'll be fine. Find an equation, okay? Now what? This is no different than what we just did on the last problem, right? We found a slope, and now we need to pick one of the points. Okay, so y minus 16 equals 0.06x. Oops, 0.06 parentheses, sorry, x minus 125. If I distribute, I get y minus 16 equals 0.06x minus, I don't know what that is, 125 times 0.06. One more time. Okay, now how do we finish? Add the 16 over there. So 0.06x plus, is it 8.5? So this is the flat fee, right? It doesn't actually ask that, but we figured out what it is. So what if you played this game for 225 minutes? What are we going to do there? 0.06 times 225 plus 8.5. Anybody? I have no idea. $22 even? Everybody agreeing? All right, so all of that is the section on creating an equation of a line. It's a lot of stuff. And then the last section is just linear regression. Has its own little spot. So how are we going to start this one? We're going to read really carefully because it says to use what? It says use x equals 1985 to be 0. Now be careful, this is not 1. Because remember, we're subtracting 1985 from each of these. So we're going to get 0, 5, 10, and 15, right? So watch that carefully on the quiz. You have to use the whole table because I don't know if I did this yesterday. Some of the sets were long, so I crossed them out. You got to use all the data points. I don't know if I did that in your class, but oh, I detest when it hides. Okay, I'm going to use this one. Are you all done already? Stat, enter. What am I supposed to have in this list? And the second list, let me clear this. 300? That, okay. Oh, 1550? Is that what you said? And I typed it wrong? Okay. All right. Then we need the equation. So we go set, right arrow, choice 4. If you don't want to store it, you don't have to store it. Eventually, you're going to have to know how to store it, which would be vars, right arrow, enter, enter. Okay. So what does it want you to write down? Okay. The one on the quiz I think is really messy and you have to go out 3 decimal places, okay? The one I made up here turns out disgustingly nice. 85x plus what was it? 300 or 350? Okay. So what is the correlation coefficient? 0.997. Okay. Go 3 places on that as well. Is this a good model? I should say why. How do you know it's a good model? Close to 1. Okay. Use your model to predict 2019. So if I stored it, I can scroll down to what? What is 2019 minus 1985? 34 maybe? Okay. So I want to put in x equals 34. And I can go back there or I can scroll in the table either one. If you didn't store it, you can't scroll in the table. Scrolling the table is probably going to take me forever anyway, but is it 3190? Okay, anybody need help? They're not getting that. Calculator's not working. Okay, give me 1 second because I'm going to, no, I'm not going to stop taping. Can you bring it up here real quick? All right, guys, don't tell Miss Abruzzo's class, but if you want to turn your homework check-in today, you can, but you can keep it till tomorrow if you want, okay? If you want to do some extra practice on some of the worksheets, her class, she made them turn them in today. I'm okay either way. I would like you turned in today so I can get them graded, but yes, you do. Yep. Hang on, I'm going to talk about the factoring worksheet.
I even put in
The what one?
bars.
Oh, okay. Yep. You just don't have them turned on. We'll do it, and then it should stay on, okay? This diagnostic on. Now, anytime you do it, it should show up, okay? Did you get a new calculator? Maybe that's why. Yep. It just, the Y.
Yeah, like,
Okay. So go over to Y bars. Enter, enter.
and then like,
Enter, enter. And now stored in here.
okay.
Okay. I don't know if I have
Yeah.
not enough enters or something. Oh, yep. Did you get a new calculator?
No.
Okay. Well, it should stay on once we turn it on, but stat diagnostics you want on.
Okay.
And then if you just hit enter to redo it, it'll be
okay,
there,
great.
okay?
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. Okay. So I think on this one, yeah, this one we got to actually go into the catalog. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the factoring worksheet real quick. No. Oh, you can go second graph. Oh, this is the issue. Okay. If you go second window, it should be on auto, and then you can scroll up and down. The pink basket, homework check goes in the pink basket over there that says to be graded. That's where the quiz will go tomorrow when you're done, unless you hand it to me so I can start grading them. Okay, I'm switching over. Sorry, I should have paused the video. What am I switching over to? Where's the factoring? Yeah, where's it? I thought I had it open. Oh, here it is. Okay. So on the factoring worksheet on the back, there's some hints. Okay, it has a table you may have seen if you took regular algebra 2. It says what type of polynomial do you have? If it has only two terms, like a squared minus b squared, or a cubed minus b cubed, or a cubed plus b cubed, there's special patterns. Or you maybe can just pull out a monomial, because actually that's with a step I skipped up here, right? Factor out any common monomial should always come first. All right, if it has three terms, you're going to do the diamond or the reverse FOIL thing and check, guess and check. If it has four terms, factor by grouping. There's not one of those on the quiz, but it's not on tomorrow's quiz at all. All right, so somebody pick one here. What could we take out on number 1? A 3 and an x, so we have 3x minus 2. Did I do that right? All right, I'm jumping down. Let's talk about, that doesn't go any further, right? Let's talk about number 6. That one looks tricky to me. 3 terms, do they all have anything in common? No. So you can do slide and divide, just be very careful at the end, because a whole bunch of people get slide and divide wrong. I really don't want you to have to do slide and divide in this class anymore. Yeah, it's a weird method. I can show you later, but we need if you had, most teachers don't teach it anymore. 2x squared. 2x squared. To get a 2x squared, I need a what? What multiplies to make 2x squared? Okay. Now the trick becomes we need to multiply something to make negative 54 at the back. So we have 2 times 27. We have 3 times, I don't know, 18. We have 6 and 9 would have been my obvious choices, okay? Now, if I try 6 and 9, how do I check if it works? You do these little inside-outside faces, okay? This gives me 18x, and this gives me 6x. Does that make 3? Is that going to add or subtract to make 3 in the middle? No. Okay, what could I try differently? I could swap the 6 and the 9. I don't know. Because of the 2, it might. Okay, so now when I do inside and outside, I get 12x and 9x. How could I make that be a positive 3? If the 9 was negative. Okay, so I need the negative here and the positive here. Let's talk about a cubic real quick. I don't know. What could we do first on number 11? Take out a 2, and that will be x cubed plus 216. Okay. This is a cubic pattern now. It's following this rule that's on your sheet. A cubed plus b cubed equals a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Is that the right pattern? Somebody check me. It's here. A minus b times, okay? The rule, you're going to have to memorize this, not now. You get a couple weeks to work on it, or a week. It's cube root each of these and put them here. And then it's square this one, and multiply them times each other, but the sign always changes here. I know, it's a lot. I have to think about, somebody told me a way to memorize it, and I can't remember now. All right, we're going to go, so what's the cube root of this and the cube root of this? X plus cube root of 216 is 6. There's a list of perfect cubes on the back too, I think, isn't there? To help you? All right, now the second parenthesis, we start by squaring that first one. It's an x squared. At the end goes the second one squared. 6 squared is 36. In the middle, we multiply them together. We'll get 6x. But now we got to work on the signs. If it started as plus here, it's plus in the little parenthesis, but it's minus plus in this one. Now, how many of you think this should factor further? X and X, what are the factors of 36? There's a lot of them. 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Any of those differ by 6? We're trying to get a 6 in the middle. No, it does not factor further. Cubics, as long as you take out any common factors first, cubics will not factor further after you use this pattern. That is the final answer. We're not solving anything, guys. There are no equal signs on this worksheet. You can't solve. We're just factoring. Okay, we can do more practice on factoring another day. I have lots of practice worksheets on factoring. You're going to have to get real good at it eventually by next week. Quiz tomorrow. Any questions? Homework check due today or tomorrow. Be working on the factoring sheet because it's on the next homework check. Yes, please staple that on the front. Yep, staple the papers that it asked for and that little strip on the front. If you didn't, I can do it for you. If you didn't put the little strip on, I have extra ones. Don't worry about it, guys. Thanks for asking, though, about how to turn it in.